For those of you who are new to the space, we are a place dedicated to the possibilities of language. We're a nonprofit organization founded in 1968, established here in Venice, California. However, we recognize that we are an unceded territory. We stand in solidarity with indigenous Tongva communities who've endured colonialism and displacement. We stand against genocide and are committed to provide a space for indigenous artists and communities as they are the original stewards of this land. This historic landmark building, which we're in, first functioned as the first Venice City Hall before it was annexed by Los Angeles. But since the late 70s, it has been a home to artists and writers of all backgrounds. And that happened when Beyond Baroque specifically took over the building and turned it into the international interdisciplinary art space it is today. This weekend, we're actually kicking off our fall programming, and I invite you to visit our website, or you can talk to me after the event, see how you can stay connected with us and be part of any of the programs, art exhibitions, workshops that we have here in the space. In the Mike Kelley Gallery, some of you checked it out before the reading here, but you're welcome to see it afterwards in the Mike Kelley Gallery. It's 2 floors, right here and downstairs, and a room upstairs, and we are showing Cutout. It is a group of collage works curated by Jody Zellen, and Jody is also our gallery manager. Big thank you to the Beyond Baroque team for making this event happen today. We're here thanks to the support of our audiences. So if you want to know more about how you can support Beyond Baroque, please talk to us after the event. We are actually hosting our annual gala on November 2nd. So if you're interested in becoming a donor, if you're part of an organization, business, would like to support, there are many options. So please come talk to us after. And it's kind of in line with the subject of today's conversation. Back in the spring, Vincent Johnson exhibited a series of collages detailing historical connections of modern art structures and institutions as we know them today, and tracing their lineage founded by wealthy art collectors who built their wealth on participating in the slave trade and other exploitative capitalist ventures. Would recommend for you to visit the bookstore. We have these books right here. This book, Museums and Wealth, Politics of Contemporary Art Collections by Nizam Shaked. And Vincent was in conversation with Nizam. And also thank you so much to the support of Renée Petropolous for co-curating that exhibition with Vincent, being part of those conversations. But this is available in the bookstore. There's a recording available on YouTube of that conversation, as well as the conversation with Anuradhan Vikram, who is a professor at Cal State Long Beach. And this is more of a fiction book, but maybe in line with some of the subjects spoken about today. Yes. Yeah, on the Beyond Baroque's YouTube channel. You can find it there. And yeah, we have these books on sale, and I think today will be a sort of concluding conversation, but ongoing, of course. I think of the research that Vincent has provided on this lineage of the historical connections of art institutions to how they accumulated their wealth and how they got to the point in which they are today. And I think this is going to be a true art history lesson. So I'll pass it on to Vincent, but just I'll say a few words about him. He is an artist and writer based in Los Angeles. His photographic works and paintings engage both significant and neglected historical subjects and are based on intensive research. Johnson has developed important thematic analyses both through writing and photography of North American cities. His in-depth study of urban transformation and erasure has expanded into other areas of his creative practice, whether it is research, cultural review, or documentation of media and its relationship to history and culture. He is currently photographing Southern domestic and plantation architecture and related cultural artifacts in the Deep South while doing what he calls the Grand Tour of the Confederacy. So please welcome Vincent Johnson. Thank you.
All right. I think first I'm gonna play this clip. This is from, well, this is the entire film, but this is Jezebel, Betty Davis, Henry Fonda, and I'm just going to play about less than a minute. This is a start of it. New Orleans, 1852. The shot for the St. Louis Hotel is intentional. There's Fonda, and they show the St. Louis Hotel. That's it. Okay, let's start there. Okay. The St. Louis Hotel in New Orleans was the showcase for the slave trade in New Orleans, the premier showcase. It is multidimensional in its historical relevancy. Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin is based upon this character who Henry Fonda is playing. The actual person is Meredith Calhoun, okay, a planter one of the major planters in the South. At the St. Louis Hotel, there was, as I said, slave auctions, and I'm going to show you a picture. Where's my New Orleans? New Orleans. There it is. Okay, so that's the rotunda of the St. Louis Hotel, of which a small portion still exists in the Central Business District in New Orleans. Okay, on the side of the building, I'm not going to identify the hotel. On the side of the building, the word exchange can be seen. And what exchange was in exchanging money for Negroes. Okay, so this lithograph is from around that time. So what you see is on the left, on my left, sale of paintings that have just arrived on ships from Italy, and then center, Africans who have just arrived from up south, most likely because of the flow of trade, all being auctioned, and then property, most likely a plantation owner has passed away. So let's see, I'm going to go to this image next. Is that the one I want? This one? Yes, this one. Okay. Let's launch it. Come on. Open. There we go. Okay. This is a map of New Orleans. It is the laser lines are of the faubourgs. Each faubourg was a plantation. So what you're seeing is that New Orleans was comprised of 21 interlocking slave plantations, the entirety of New Orleans. Okay? And I wish that was not true, but it is. And especially being that my mom's side, my mother's family is from Louisiana. And we visited, my wife and I visited, and daughter, the Whitney plantation on the outskirts of New Orleans. Within a couple of weeks of an article coming out about a lawyer in New Orleans transforming the property and purchasing artifacts from plantations that were, obviously none are still operating as they were, but there's still some in operation, growing cotton and other things, but with modern, contemporary technology. Anyway, at the Whitney, and without knowing, we were visiting British Johnson's slave plantation. British Johnson had a mansion in New Orleans, and I think it still stands. I think that's it right here. Come on. That's it. That's British Johnson's mansion. He was, of course, involved in the slave trade and a plantation. He lived in New Orleans and he lived in New York. He also was on boards of the early New York cultural institutions. The other property that he owned, well, let me stop. The sugar plantations were used to make the rum that he's made in New York at the property that is the Nabisco Box Company, that is the Chelsea Market in New York. That was and there's still a British Johnson building in Manhattan. So I think I've made one point there. So let's see, I don't want to take too much time here. I'm going to stick with New Orleans. Okay. Let's see, come on. Please launch. Oh, but which one? Okay, it's making me do it twice. Okay. Nope, not that one. Come on. Stop. Not that one. I want this one. There we go. Okay. So this is a map of central New Orleans in 1849, and what it is depicting, the blue star is where the Greek slave was on exhibition. And it was a sensation. It traveled. Its travels were astounding. The red dots represent the 52 locations where the slave trade took place in New Orleans. Okay. So now let's go to. This is this. Yep, right here. Oh. This is the actual. I'm sorry. This is a photograph of the St. Louis Hotel. I think it's around 1900. It's been, it's mostly was demolished, but part of it still exists. I think the ballroom and some other parts still exist. The wealth that was generated was so great that the South the American South was the fourth largest economy in the world. Okay. Let me go to this one here. This is Paul Tulane's packet ship, Tulane University. So Paul Tulane owned about 2,000 slaves. He had built in Tulane one of the first art exhibition spaces in the United States. Okay. The victory bell that Tulane University rung until recently, they found out that it was a slave calling bell. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's. Let me see. That's enough of this. We go to. Let's see. Come on. Paris. I think that's where it is. Come on. No, that's not the right one. It's this one. Come on. Here we go. Okay, let's get to the point here. This is a photograph of the current French president's part of his apartment. This is a Hotel Evero, which is part of the Place Vendôme in Paris. This mansion was purpose-built by Antoine Crozat, who was the greatest négrier or slave trader in French history. And his younger brother was the premier art collector of the age. His brother started collecting art when he was 18 years old. Pierre Crozat did. Now, I'm going to get to start some of what I've come to understand. And this is something that I wish was at best, I wish was not true under any circumstance, but here we have it. So what I've come to understand now is the cultural training I've had since I was a little boy, being taught French in the third grade, Latin in high school, on and on, reading critical theory to no end. I read over 4,000 books when I was in my 20s of literature and philosophy and Hegel and on and on. And then at some point, well, actually in graduate school in Pasadena, I started realizing that I was experiencing the worst end of a spectrum simultaneously with the highest end of it at the same time. By going to school in Pasadena, I was part of that, but yet where I had come from, which I thought I was from Cleveland, but I'm actually a Nigerian, and my family has been on this continent for 400 years and is among the first Virginians on this continent. And of course, we didn't swim here. So here's this 1927 illustration, and of course, it's about being defamed on one end, but of course, it's kind of like snorting coke. That's the way I look at it in Paris. So what this sets up is obviously the spectrum. I am God, and you are the polar opposite of whatever God is. In the debut speech of the École des Beaux-Arts in the 19th century, the director, and I will not recount what he said exactly, because it was defaming to me personally. Basically, he said what Hegel said. You have no brain, you have no intellect, you're not even a farm animal, etc. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have it right here. This is the opening, the debut talk of the director of the year. You've got to be kidding me. No, I'm not kidding you, and it's true. Let's jump around here. So time is it? Let me hurry up. Come on. Okay. This is an illustration of showing the various types of tortures that happen in the Congo, the French Congo, and in the Belgian Congo. And I'm going to get onto that quickly because that's going to be basically the primary thing I'm going to focus on, because I don't want to take all of you guys' time, and certainly I have other stuff to do too. So let's go get to it. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay. This is a Belgian Universal Exposition, and I was thinking that's a first panopticon, maybe, but it's actually it's a viewing station, right? And so the Africans are brought in, and then to the right, the Belgians are brought in, right? And they there's a podcast that I've listened to a couple times, and did again just yesterday. There's an exhibition space in New York that exists based upon the director's recent experience. So I would say recent being like 5 years ago, at a major art fair in Belgium where she was taking care of business. And this Belgian collector approached her and said some things that were nightmarish. She was so upset she couldn't work the table anymore, the door, but she just, I surrender. She reveals that in the podcast. Just know that, well, for me, the leading intellectual gallery in the world that's from Germany is the space that is backing her today. Okay? Not an American, of course. Okay. This is sculpture made from elephant and from the vast array of raw materials that were excavated from the Congo by the Belgians after King Leopold II was able to take control of the Congo, of the Belgian portion of Congo. And it happened to be the richest area in all of Africa in terms of minerals. So I have a text that describes how the elephants were killed, and it's nightmarish, so I won't describe it at all. But I will say that it can be complemented with this page I have from that was found in an Parisian art historian's books that describes the 31 different tortures that you can order as if you're ordering a meal, and basically deboning an African. Okay? Yes, okay? So the question is, who is the savage? Okay, there's no question about it. Who is the savage? Okay, these materials are not available that I know of. Cocoa doesn't grow in Belgium. There are no diamond mines in Belgium, et cetera, right? And I have to say, if it happened to be that on this planet that the raw materials that the Belgians found happened to have been in Germany as versus the Congo, they would all be there right now. And Belgium would be like West Virginia. Okay? Instead of the wealth it produced was astounding. It became the 5th largest economy in the world. They had only 7.5 million people living there. They were living like kings. So guess where Art Nouveau comes from, followed by Art Deco, right? This is how it happens. It is because this astounding, phenomenal wealth and natural resources the elephant tusk, the Congo wood. Guess what? When you look at a Victor Horta, Art Nouveau masterpiece, what are you looking at? You're looking at the Congo being stripped and then engineered into these marvels. Now, one of the things that concerned me about this, the Code des Beaux-Arts, the debut speech, is because that person is considered one of the seminal figures in the history of architecture. Okay, so Frank Lloyd Wright praised him, on and on. Okay, so again, here we're talking about the spectrum. So I'm wondering, when I'm looking at clean lines and I'm thinking about Le Corbusier and those things, what does that really mean? That it's clean, that it's perfect. And then there's this thing that's not perfect, that's not clean, right? There has to be. That's the spectrum, okay? That's the spectrum. And where are you on it is shame on you if you're on the wrong end of the stick. So let me go to, because I don't want to take too much time here. I'm up a little bit more here. Okay. Here is this going to show? Yeah, here we go. Okay. There's Adolf Stocklet. This is a photograph that one of the auction houses was able to take because you can't access the property. Everything about the building is made possible by Mr. Stocklet being in control of about half of the entire mining operations of all natural resources in the Congo. And this is what produces the Art Nouveau masterpiece, unparalleled architecture. Okay, so this also happens with King Leopold, with the train station in Antwerp, with all of the main structures of government in Brussels are able to be made from that wealth and also from the raw materials. So with Stocklet, here I have something I want to say about this thing. He was, of course, a backer of Klimt. I don't need that. And the gold used for the mosaic in the Stocklet kitchen didn't come from Belgium. And as I said, gold, there is no gold in Belgium other than that came from the Congo through the Force Publique, which was a slaughtering machine. Mark Twain wrote it's like a joke book, and it was a soliloquy to King Leopold II. But what he basically was saying is, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not a bad person, and why are you guys bothering me? And which is basically what is matched what you have in American, the Confederate South, the ongoing Confederate South, with the commemoration, the Confederate romance weddings, and etc. Okay, the commemorations there's actually, and we've been to both, just north of Montgomery and just north of Birmingham are theatrical replays of the Confederate South's victoriousness and its bravery and etc. That a mirror of what happens in Williamsburg, where the daily administration of the British Empire of the American colonies is reenacted. Okay, So it's pretty remarkable to actually see some of this stuff, okay? Let me see, what do I want to show you? Stocklet, Paul Guillaume. Okay, let me, here. Okay, it's going to go to Paris. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, here's the catalog for the company that Paul Guillaume owned that was involved in the tire industry, tire sales and manufacture. How he came upon materials, what we call African sculptures, was in one of the shipments sent to him, somebody had placed a mask. So, oh my goodness, send me more. So he sent out, and his lines went through West, and he put ads in the colonial newspapers in Africa and in Paris and Western Europe, and he became who he became. So here's, let's see, which one I want to show you first here. Come on. Please stop, please start over. I'm going to open. No, just open. Come on now, why is it not doing it? Okay, it doesn't like it. No, don't do that. Open. Okay, so here's the sketch of Paul Guillaume's gallery. Downstairs, the gallery, the living space is upstairs. There's some other drawings. So he did quite well. And his counterpart, Mr. Broomer, who started out, actually he didn't start with gallery at all. He started out having a flea market in Paris, but he got connected to the African mask trade, and from there he became who he became. So let's see. Where I want to go here. T. Stewart. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. This is the gallery of A.T. Stewart. He was the leading dry goods person in the United States. He had the first, what's it called? Department store in the United States. It was made of marble. That building still exists. It's called the Sun Building. Okay. There were about, he had a vertically integrated business, from cotton from the slave trade, the industrial workers, the factory workers in Manchester and Liverpool, the ships, something people don't know, certainly I didn't know, that Brooklyn waterfront was rife with cotton warehouses, sugar warehouses. This is where the Havermeyers come in, and the Carol Walker's giant sugar baby comes in. That's what that's just about, but it's, I know of it was not, that information didn't become well known. So this is, you see, look on the map here, and where it says A.T. Stewart Store, and then on the grid below, where it says areas most likely to contain intact burials, and then area unlikely to contain that. So you see, and also area known to contain intact burials. And there's the A.T. Stewart, the original store, and this is the African burial ground.
Wow. That's still there?
The African burial ground is now a national monument.
Oh.
What happened is the federal building in, the United States Empire's federal building in New York was going to expand to a second building. That second building was going to be, when they excavated it, oh my God, New York didn't have anything to do with the slave trade. That is so untrue. It is unbelievable. About 40% of the wealth from the entire South went to New York banks. Okay, they were the brokers, the cotton brokers, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so that's been taken care of, right? And like I said, after centuries, it became what it is. So let's see. Here is his. You don't need to see that. Brussels, Brown Brothers, Belgian. I just talked about the Belgian assets. Oh, here we go. Okay. This image is of New York celebrating it becoming an empire. There's nothing to say. In the Empire State. Yeah. So, portrait by Leon Redon, who was conceived in New Orleans, but was born in France. His father's family had lost their wealth during one of the many Napoleonic Wars. So his father got on a ship and learned the slave trade and went to New Orleans and made a fortune, and then moved back to Paris. To Paris, and bought property in the suburbs. And his son went to art school, and they had first editions of the latest novels and et cetera, and they were completely in it. And so to know that was something that was widely available, it was extremely well known, because even Balzac wrote about a lawyer in Paris who said, "I actually don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a planter in Mississippi, because it's a much more spectacular life." And one of the things that kind of try to believe that the South was ignorant, stupid, but rich, and that's far from the truth. Okay, it was and is. Some of the same people who were in France, who had to run for their lives from Saint Domingo after the revolution, just set up shop in New Orleans. Up the road, they became professors at the major universities in the South and the North. So I'm not going to say it. Somebody's involved in an industry that grew up, a contemporary of ours that I know about, who grew up on a live plantation. Their families owned for generations, and they're happily ever after. Does have a wonderful life. So it's what I realized is there was basically a type of vampire parasite that the French, Germans, Belgians, Dutch, etc., all participated in, and they were, were fine with that. So let me go on to. I don't want to go too much longer here. Come on, this one. This is the R.L. Stewart sugar refinery in New York. They made what was called broken candy. It's in the West Village. That's where it was. Of course, there's no point in going into where they got sugar from because that's a waste of time. Anyway, but the point of this is that they became prominent art collectors. So I'm not interested in showing you what they collected, because that is the part of art history that is taught. The Havemeyers and the Metropolitan, splendid, unbelievable collector. The Havemeyers worked with the United States Empire's government to write into legislation to separate out production from ownership of a plantation in the Caribbean from sales. Those are three different things. So in the annual report of the Havemeyers, okay, when they talk about that, when they would all these congressional hearings, which I've now read several. We don't own slaves. We don't use slaves. Where does the sugar come from? I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. Just we get it from somebody. Okay. And that has, so the thing is that it's never addressed. Okay. And the problem for me is that especially with the Congo and Belgium and the unbelievable wealth it generated, that this place was piss poor. And everybody's seen Chantal Ackerman's film and showing Belgium and what the female character in that movie had to endure to survive. I remember the first time I went to Brussels, I thought that somebody had left part of it looking just like it had been World War II yesterday. I couldn't believe it. That was about over 30 years ago. So that the narratives is not in place in the public imagination regarding what Belgium did or what Paris did or what the United States did to obtain the wealth it has, where it's very clear and distinct that there's a connection between this having taken place and this having happened. And so this excuse that is used that I didn't have anything to do with that. But yes, my family is the 11th generation currently living on the slave plantation property that Frederick Douglass ran away from, that he escaped. And you can't visit the property. It's none of your business. It's, for me, why you can go to the Garden District, you can go to Charleston and you can visit the gardens, but you can't go in the houses. And I think that would be obvious. Why? Because if you went into the houses, it would be like walking to a Klan rally, okay? I went to Richmond and the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. There is a plantation mansion that is within a 1-minute walk of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts right now. The entire property was the camp of Robert E. Lee. The daughter of the Confederacy's national headquarters is on that property. All of the homes built at the periphery of that's the Confederacy. So when there's a sculpture knocked down and an Arthur Ashe sculpture is put in its place, it's like a bad joke, because the thing is completely, wholly intact. So what I've come to understand is that, this is like my central thesis, that everything that has ever happened is what constitutes the present. And this is why when it seems like things loop back, okay? And then why we're like what I'm doing, what I call the Grand Tour of the Confederacy, and when we went to the Aiken-Rhett Mansion, the in-town plans, because would have three, right? You have one on the shore, one in town, and one out in the sticks, right? That's where the plantation is. And then property, then they would go on vacation in Newport, which was, talk about the slave trade, okay? Or the fact that the first art museum in the United States, that's in Hartford, Connecticut, Jeremiah Wadsworth's son, Daniel, inherited his wealth from his businesses, his adventures. And I went there and I talked to a couple of the administrators. And one of the persons that I talked to grabbed underneath her chair and stood up as if she was about to run out of the building screaming. Because the image that I projected was that this building is a slave ship and we are on it right now. I left my name. I said, if you want to get in touch. I'm sorry, pardon?
I just wondered if you had that image.
Oh, no, I'm talking about that. I figuratively projected, right? I made her see that, okay? That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, so this is, I can go on and on about it because I'm going to be saying the same thing over and over, giving countless examples, whether it be the Barings, the Browns, the Mrs. Brown, late 19th century, is able to create the Metropolitan Museum, what will become the Metropolitan Museum of Art's spectacular musical instruments collection from around the world. In the catalog, like I said, things, I can show you. Here's the copy. In the catalog, it's the division. It's a catalog. The catalog is based upon the book she had published of her collection. Her son could draw and drew the instruments. She sends the book to the Met and says, when I'm gone, I'm going to give you what I have. And that's exactly what happens. Okay. So the Brown brothers, then later Browns, but I wouldn't say Brown's brothers Harriman, because Miss Harriman in the 20th century owned a gallery on 57th Street, and I can't say that the Harriman didn't have their own money, because they did. They were an independent company, and they were extremely wealthy, so I would not put her in that category. But the Browns, they are in that category. And her collection is spectacular. There's concerts, the people play the instruments, a major artist come in and play the instruments. And there's this reverie again. And so in the catalog, it subdivides, okay? And when it actually has Egypt as if it's not part of Africa. So, oh my God, it's ahead. I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And then it has, Savage Africa. Oh, of course. It's in the Metropolitan Museum catalog. Well, thankfully, no one will ever look at that catalog other than me. Okay? Which is, of course, and so that's what I'm talking about, is saying that these things are living artifacts, right? They're not, there's only one set of art history books. It's not like invisible art history books, ones you can see, ones you can't see. They're mostly in French, but guess what? Google Translate works pretty damn good, okay? So, right? So that gives me access. And so there's just countless different instances. The famous show that Paul Guillaume donated to, that at 291 Gallery, the something absurd, statues by African savages. I'm like, You're kidding. You actually named the show this, and it was published in your magazine? He's like, this is a bad joke, isn't it? You're kidding me. So now this is the thing. What is driving me to know this, right? Why, how, because I'm wondering, I'm like, who am I, even at this age? What is it I'm actually experiencing, okay? And it becomes clear that, for one, why did Du Bois go to and have a telephone booth-sized space in the United States Empire's pavilion in Paris, the spectacle of the century, of the eons, to show all of colored, black, Negro, every other, whatever, okay, from the year 1865 to the year 1900. 35 years of progress. So that explained to me why in the that image I showed you with the three women smoking cigarettes, how on God's green earth were artists in Harlem going to be perceived as being the even remotely in the same category. It is not possible, including the show that's on now in New York. It's not possible. It is not possible, because if you have been refused to be a human being, even stamped like a farm animal, burn, your skin burned, and then on the other end, the artists are working directly for the crown, okay, and the slave trade is roaring in Paris, then there's no equivalency there. It's not even remotely possible, and it's not fair to try to make any comparison when the persons that were in Harlem went to Paris. There was, I said, it's like a bad joke again, that they had no possible chance of being involved, and it explains some contemporary things. Why the African-American artist is siloed into the United States, okay? That if you look to see how many people that are from the part of the world that I'm from are showing in an institution in Western Europe, good luck. One of my friends who was a mentor in graduate school who worked at a major gallery in LA after working at LACMA, then worked at an institution in Dijon. We have every once a year we have a dinner together in Paris, and she says, it's what you're saying. You're right on top of it, but it's going to take you forever to not figure it out. You figured it out. It's going to take you forever to fully realize the thing, because the vastness of it, because and that. You will run into people who will want to sue you for defamation and etc. As a curator, I talked to this in Switzerland. Said just be ready, because you're going to step on you're going to inadvertently you're going to step on some toes you didn't know you stepped on. Okay, and here it comes, full force. So when I talked to my wife about this, I said, just imagine if I could have an hour on television that's like Henry Louis Gates' show, Finding Your Roots. I would show you the roots, but I don't know if you want to see them. So I wouldn't need but an hour. So that's actually a goal, and that's in lieu of that. That's what I'm gonna start doing a podcast, because I don't envision ever being in that position of that being possible. So. Let me see here. I'm going to wrap it up with a few more things. You got to see this one. Okay, here we go. This is King Leopold II, made from ivory, right? How the ivory was obtained. I just saw it with the slaughter part, but the other slaughter part was the the tusk. Weigh about 200 pounds. They were carried on the shoulders of the persons who were forced to carry them. When their necks broke, they just threw them into the river, and next in line. This is King Leopold II. And that artwork by a prominent sculptor exists right now, okay? So it's, I've talked to a few curators in Belgium. One is interested in talking to me, but I'm not sure that would go anything farther than that. I think that he knows what, hell would be unleashed upon him should he, this won't make it to public television in Belgium, you can be for sure, okay? Because it's predicated that we accomplish these things as if by, like there were, the spectacular Antwerp train station that's, what made that possible? And then it's only, this is a spectacular work by this incredible architect who was a genius and just sprouted out of the ground. It just appeared, that's how it happened. And unfortunately, that's as far from the truth as it can be. So I'm not going too much longer here, but I'm gonna read from this because the first thing I showed was the hotel where the St. Louis Hotel is where the auctions were taking place, as I've described. The St. Louis Hotel's ballroom is where the sale of the paintings that were unsuccessfully sold by Daniel Pratt and James Robb. I just visited Daniel Prattville in just north of Montgomery. He owns the entire town, okay? There's this gigantic, there's a water flowing through so they could have a cotton engine making. They made 1,500 cotton engines. That's what a cotton gin is, okay? He and Mr. Robb of New Orleans, who was a cotton broker, kind of free-form banker, they said, we want to start an art museum. So this is prior to any other in the United States. This is the ground zero. And they have an exhibition in the hotel. And the exhibition is not much different than what happens now at museum shows. They work as for sale. But they were just blunt about it. They didn't say, oh, no, we would never do anything like that. But this is how much it would cost if we did do something like that. So they were just blunt. They had few sales except for planters. That was the end of that was it. They surrendered. So, but here in this document, which is titled "The Slave Auction" by Dr. John Theophile Kramer, late of New Orleans in 1859, and he goes on to describe the auction. This is in the St. Louis Hotel. This is a broad hall situated in one of the most frequented streets of a large and well-known city in the South. You will be astounded when you shall find, in place of a lion's den or a man trap, a nicely fitted up, refreshing place. Nothing formidable is presented to your eyes. Several corpulent and richly dressed gentlemen are helping themselves to fine liquors and delicacies, profusely spread out before you and placed upon an elegantly shaped bar. Beautiful pictures ornamenting the walls attract the eyes of some amateurs of art, while others, preferring nice lots and buildings, are studying the designs of several large maps, showing various city lots and splendid buildings advertised for sale at auction. In the vicinity of said maps is a platform where a table is placed together with a writing desk and a few chairs. Two colored waiters are busy placing several hundred commodious chairs facing the platform. The doors of the hall open frequently, for there are many gentlemen entering, and soon is gathering a large assemblage by whom the chairs are occupied. There you will see the elegantly dressed dandy smoking his sweet-scented Havana while examining through his richly gilded eyeglasses the designs of building lots. Next to his chair you will perceive and admire an athletic form of a Kentucky trader with his plain frock and his boots reaching over his knees. There you will also see the rich, proud planter from Mississippi, reasoning with his fierce-looking, but now before his employer, creeping overseer. The doors are opened again. 4 ladies splendidly dressed in black silk and satin, and glittering with precious jewels, are entering the hall. 8 or 10 gentlemen who were comfortably seated next to the platform jump up from their chairs and politely offer their seats to the fair guests. Sounds like an art opening to me.
Yes.
Okay? An art opening where they sell slaves, just like the painting. Okay?
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm gonna wrap it up with that. Okay?
Let me ask a question.
Yes, you may.
I don't know if you, I know you're a history guy, but what about politics? But do you think there's any kind of thing about reparations that can start happening?
Okay. Well, one thing is politics, okay? Obviously, right now in this country, which I call the United States Empire because that's what it is, okay? It's just, because if you look at a book you say published in like 1898, 1900, German Empire, or German artists, German Empire. But that didn't disappear. It didn't disappear, okay? They didn't disappear. And people, when they're introduced, right, they name all their credentials, and they're part of, something. They're part of an empire, okay? So let's stop playing that game. There's a hardcore contingent in the United States in different factions, right? So in the South, in different parts of the South, they have their own faction. They're protecting what they have. For me, in Charleston, it explains why there are no nationally known, internationally respected hotels in Charleston. Everything's like somebody's local thing. It's like, where's no real Ritz-Carlton here? What's going on? Oh, I got it. Because Charleston didn't have industry until the year 1940. They did pretty good, didn't they? 1940. And you know what that industry was? Naval operations. You couldn't bring your slave trade crap into Charleston proper. The train track stopped before you got into Charleston because that's dirty, and we are not like that. Now, Charleston had the United States' first theater, first concert hall, first cultural society. Charleston, not New York. Charleston did, okay? Because they were replicating who they came from, which is London, which was replicating who they were looking at, which is Paris, right? It's like a telescope, okay? So those people are not giving up their plantation wealth. It's absurd, okay? Because the banking industry, Wall Street itself, was made possible, okay, but because of the machinations that took place, including people who, after, say, the slavery ended over here. Okay, but let's just play the game where you hit it and the thing pops out over here. We just play the whack-a-mole. Okay, so they just moved, and since it was international and extremely sophisticated. So one thing, there is a naval officer who worked with the Confederacy after his military career, who discovered and mapped the winds, okay? Middle of the 19th century. What he used that for is for to more rapidly transfer slaves. That's what else would it be for, okay? When the Atlantic cable got laid, instead of taking 2 weeks to get a letter back from London on are you going to give me a loan on this so I can buy this plantation or not? It took 4 minutes. That's what it got used for. Okay, that's what a cotton broker is. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? So all of these instruments of wealth accumulation were and still are in evidence as the means for cultural production to have taken place at this level, and to, as one of my professors said, to be freed from the stench of labor.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Flat out. So that's not going away. Okay, you could this is I've made jokes about this, but I said this is what I would do, because New York was the primary beneficiary of the slave trade on this continent. I would have built the most spectacular plantation mansions that were destroyed by the Sherman tank movement. And I would have the daily administration of the slave trade replayed, showing everything, showing the Meredith Calhoun's daughter coming into a salon in Paris, okay? And Winterhalter there awaiting her, and then painting her portrait. So then, see, this is very different than going to the National African American Museum, because you come out and you're still completely ignorant. You're completely ignorant, okay? That's what I'm trying to defeat, okay? Is cut this out, okay? So so I'm saying is if they did that one thing, and it wouldn't have to be many, it could be just 2 or 3, okay? But if it would be permanent, and it would be one showing the banking system, okay? One showing the artists. Okay, so let's take Impressionism or any art movement in 19th century France, right? Okay, I want in. Well, you're not from the upper class, so you can forget that. But okay, so what can I do? Oh, I can go paint portraits in America. That's what he did. But it wasn't just low. Eastman Johnson was painting. He gave up his genre painting practice. Charles Wilson Peels was doing it. The head of the Royal Academy, London, Benjamin West, painted William Beckford, who had over 3,500 slaves, okay, in his plantations. There was an outburst at one of his plantations where 400 slaves were executed. Some were hung out to dry in irons. Okay. Benjamin West, who when he died owned 7,000 artworks, painted living and dead members of William Beckford's family. Okay. So this is not going away. So if you go to the National Portrait Gallery in Washington and the National Portrait Gallery in London, you know what you're seeing? It's obvious, right? This is what you're seeing, okay? So that this thing is embedded, it is not, I mean, it's like what's the thing called where the French describe what is in a mortale, that they're part of the fabric of the civilization. It is the civilization. It's not like this is over here and this is over here. It is the thing, okay? You can't separate it out. You can't tear an arm off and go, okay, now it's okay. No, it'll bleed to death, right? So it's that, it is the thing, okay? There's no separation. And so when I started becoming aware of this, because I was aware of it 30 years ago, but like over time, and then there was a technological change that happened where millions of books were scanned, which then about 5 years ago, I became aware of and went, oh my God, okay? So I've done talks about, I did one in Chicago about Ripplin and about Picasso's, that's the last thing I'm gonna talk about. Okay, so Ripplin is from, there's a raw material that is in the Congo that became the premier material to use in commercial house paint in the Western world. And of course, artists used it. Artists galore used it. Jackson Pollock ordered it. That's the only hit on the word Ripplin in the Smithsonian Archives of American Art is that hit that's about Jackson Pollock, what he was wearing, what he was using. Sennelier, that's across from the Louvre, the art store, they still have art supplies that has Congo copal in it. So it hasn't stopped, even though the Congo freed itself, and then of course within months their president was assassinated and chopped to bits, only leaving his gold tooth as the only part of his body that remained. Because we're not going to let you go. And we're not going to let you walk and just walk away. You're not free, because then we would become West Virginia. Okay, so
do you really believe that Pollock, when he went out to buy that material, knew?
Let me tell you something. There's a guy named Frederick Taubes who have had the most art exhibitions of any artist in the United States. Okay, he has paintings in 27 museums. His company, Permanent Pigment, used Congo copal, and he would be in contest with Ralph Meyer, his archivist at Yale, about how to use it, what's the best way to use it, etc. The reason they were using it for painting is they thought that this was the replica recipe for Jean Van Eyck's work. How did they make it look like looking like the painting looks like it's made out of water, right? This is what the goal was. The New York Times did an article about Taubes' business. He was selling 60,000 bottles of Congo copal, Belgian Congo copal painting medium in the 1950s. It is no way that no one knew about this, because Picasso knew about it 40 or 50 years before that. I'm not going to show it. I don't need to show it to you. No, I'm just, okay.
I mean, I think, like he said, I think it was so entrenched in their just daily life, they weren't thinking of the value of slaves.
No, people, okay. One of the Crosbys, one of the Crosbys that talked about the music collections at the Met, he said that if you wear a shirt that's made out of cotton is from the slave trade, that you're participating. Well, on the Charvettes, not on their website, but on another page, the list of the prominent artists of the time that when Charvet separated himself from being shirt maker to the king to being an independent entity. It's the same thing with how, like, the birth of the restaurant, all these things, right? This is what's happening in Paris. And so, you need a market, right? Because, now they decapitated everybody that had money, so, got to find somebody else with some money. So, Baudelaire, Manet, Monet, and Zola all wore Charvet shirts. The Southern planters, how did they know to go there? The Southern planters went to the same store, and I have a receipt showing an invoice showing what they bought. Okay? So it is not possible. If a Southern planter, they have no telephones, right? And this planter was not in touch with Zola. Okay? I don't think so. But they all knew, because we don't see it because of the type of history that we're not being shown. All the French newspapers that were in the South, they weren't just in New Orleans. They were in Charleston. They were in Savannah. They were transporting the news of the empire, okay? Because everybody's playing off of Paris. And Belgium literally did what it did, because it looked at Paris and said, oh, you did what you did. That's how you do it, okay? That's how it's done, okay? They got tired of reading that story that Baudelaire wrote about, that they're like, toilet paper, They got tired of that. So they unleashed on the Congo. But like I said, if those raw materials had been in Germany, they'd still be there right now. And there would be no such thing as Belgian chocolate.
No such thing as what?
Belgian chocolate.
You look at everything now, when you brought the French, and like Breton, I love Breton.
I do too.
When you brought it up, I think I saw it on Facebook or something. I just said, oh, shit, not very building.
Well, okay, wait a minute. Okay, last one. Picabia. When he was able to support himself through his art, when he was 58. How do you think he supported himself until age 0 to 58? You already know the answer. The particulars are irrelevant. See what I'm saying? Okay? You have to get the money from somewhere. Okay? To free yourself from the stench of labor. Once that happens, okay? Time to rock and roll. Okay? Last thing, I'm not going to show the image, but our beloved Getty Museum has one of the chairs from Pierre Crozat's salon. One of the stools, not the chair, the stool. Okay? The Getty has it. I have no idea how they were able to get it. And of course they don't know what it is. They just, but they happen to have purchased parts of 3 of the other mansions and in Place Vendôme. They acknowledge this on their website. A gentleman named Holston, major planter, all of that, he made wealth and then he kind of blew himself up, pretty normal. Right now, you can go to the Getty and see the parlor, all that remained of his slave plantation winnings. So it's not an unconscious thing. So I'm saying when the Metropolitan Museum of Art opened up, when they were planning their American wing and their historical, furniture wings, they dispatched people to the south to plantation mansions, okay, and gathered artifacts, entire rooms. I can name them. I was in Met like 2 weeks ago. Okay, this is reality. Okay, the reality of empire building is to think that it's dissipated or it's not there anymore. No, it is here. Okay, it is omnipresent, but it is not part of our daily conscience, and it's meant to be that way because it would be too disruptive that if too many people start saying, man, this is not right. And this is the thing. So we take away affirmative action, right? But you can still have 300 years of slave trade money and just live like happily ever after. That's fine. Nobody can take that away from you. That is not illegal. That is not legal, right? Okay? But I just took away your affirmative action. So just burn, okay? Just burn. That's the answer. That's no different than finding out that, say, the Fitzgerald family, Zelda, not Zelda from Montgomery. The people that she comes from, Lord have mercy, Jesus. Lord have mercy, Jesus. Okay, I've been to Montgomery 3 times now in the last 3 years. It's a hovel compared to Mobile or Birmingham. It's a hovel. And because it's a hovel, and the block where the slaves were marched when they got off of the boat down Commerce Street, where I've stayed in the hotel twice, just 2 weeks ago. I just stayed in the Trilogy Hotel. And the planters, stayed in that, and was there for 3 nights. So these properties, since they have no value, well, value can be produced by bringing in the art world, who was always interested in showing at a new venue, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to have a show in the Confederacy and right in their faces, and that would be. So guess what? Right across the Pettus Bridge, literally right across from it, there's an art gallery that's being built. On another corner is, not the corner, it's actually on the side street, is a building that's going to be dedicated to African American contemporary art, and it's going to be a museum of contemporary art, Selma. Okay? There's right on the paperwork that I took a photograph of. So as I've said, they are keenly aware. They, meaning the South, is keenly aware of what's going on. Okay, they read the New York Times just like we do. Okay, and they know that to attract wealth, well, just have some kind of cultural thing that's like unique, and zoom, here they come. And all of a sudden, you can charge $400 a night for a hotel room that you couldn't sell, you couldn't give your family. Okay, so it's it's like a fish lure. That's what the art is being used for. So.
Well, it's been used for gentrification.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly, absolutely.
And I think the word whitewashing.
Yeah. All of these,
terms of
absolutely.
hiding the money.
Yeah, but maintaining. I said that maintaining the privilege. Like I said, what I'm going to do next is to enhance the audience and also to archive my work. I'm going to start doing podcasts. One of my professors who I spoke with probably a couple of months ago from graduate school asked me, now that I know, he said, now that you know that where Catherine the Great got her art collection from, and by what means that collection was created through Pierre Crozat, through he and his brothers' Negriere business, that what's the plan? And I said, nothing should happen to it. I don't believe any of those things should be knocked down. They should be, like I said, it should be just the opposite.
Yeah.
What should be known, it should be glaringly known. This is what this really is. This is what you're really looking at, okay? Stop, you're looking there, they give you the surface, and there's more to it than there, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at. And so this is not going to change art history, or, you know what I mean? Everything is locked in stone. Nothing is going to change regarding that. What will happen is like what happened with Helen Cecil. So she challenges German philosophy, right? Shows the flaws in the glass. They don't wipe out those books. I never forgot that, being in a bookstore and being appalled. I said, Jesus, she just showed that all these guys are full of it. Her book is next to theirs.
Oh, yeah.
Next to it.
Yeah.
It's like an appendix, like commentary on it. That's what it is, okay? Yes, she's 1,000% right, but Hegel is still Hegel. So just, okay?
And you have to know that.
Okay.
And you have to know that other material.
Right.
In order to eliminate,
That's right.
To comment on it.
That's right. So that's the same project. So it's a parallel project. You know what I mean? If I was a philosopher, that's what, like I'll be like, okay, let me show you, okay? That Clive Bell, that you read the great art writers in the 20th century, and oh my God, every one of them, well, the Negro is brainless. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Please think of something else. What about like they have poor taste? They have, they're too tall. Let's come up with something else, just, okay? Stop hanging on the same narrative, which I believe that is happening right now in our presidential elections, right? And so that's how, because that is so deeply embedded, and you don't realize it that's why I've been doing a grand tour of the Confederacy, and I've been all over the South now. It's astounding. You go to Macon, Georgia, and this spectacular mansion has a private gallery. I'm like, God, I didn't know I thought they were only private galleries in New York. Well, where did you get that from? And the one that's in the Aiken Red House, after you walk through the main part of the building, there's a 2-story structure. The ground floor, and it's literally that you can't go through the gallery into the kitchen, but it's attached to it. The ground floor is this furnace of a kitchen. The top floor, there were 5 jail cells with entire enslaved people's families, in which one of the children, a girl 7 years old, starved to death. Over the kitchen, okay? This is what you're talking about. So then, that's a museum. It's protected by the federal government of the United States. Okay, this is not going away. It's not. You can't unscrew it like a light bulb and throw it away. It is part of the history of the United States. So the United States just rewrote its own history, okay, and said, yes, all that happened, but we're brothers and sisters. So, there's no Museum of the Confederacy anymore. They made it into the American Civil War Museum. That's that's how you do it. You just rename it, okay? The building that's in Alexandria, Virginia, which I visited, which was where the most heinous slave and richest slave traders in U.S. history, where they operated from, it's called the Freedom Building. Who was Freedom? And the person who benefited from it decades later became the first modern woman in Tennessee. And I made a collage about that. I have the Armfield and what the other guy's name is. I have his entire will embedded in the collage. So you see, she got this, she got this, she got these plantations, she got this, she got that. I even showed all the other properties she got, and then her spectacular abode. And she is, she's the modern woman. And it's like, okay, do you see what you're saying? So it's not going away, as one of our former presidents said, who family traces with Brown brothers, that if Americans knew what our family had done, we would be chased down the street with axes. That's it.
I appreciate everything you did so much. It opened my eyes completely, because of course I've read books.
No. See, you can read all the books about slavery. You can read 10 million books about slavery, and the handful of instances where I see a single transaction taking place, like where Joseph William Mallard Turner is involved in a tontine, which is like a slave brokerage investment. Okay? Yeah, but it's like, wait. If that's where the money's coming from, okay, if Odelia Redon's father knew fast money, there is actually a place where you could actually get fast money. You're not damn sure not getting it in France. Okay? London. Okay? If you take London out of Great Britain right now, it's as poor as Mississippi. Okay? Okay? Okay, it's the root of what it is. Okay, so people saw that as they said, you know what, no problem. Rembrandt painted. I was in Amsterdam a few months ago. The Franz Hall, the first painting I see about the Franz Hall. I read that, and Emerson's like, "We surrender. We're telling you the truth." Big bold. So and so, Mr. Oustan from blah 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 is was the most notorious slave traders and blah blah blah, and and Franz Hall said, "Damn, that's a shame. How much you gonna pay me?"
Yeah.
Okay, Rembrandt painted them. Okay, yeah. Well, okay, if you're painting a picture of a person who's rich, all you do is look at what did Balzac say? Right, behind every great fortune is a crime. Yeah. Okay, right. Now, it's a different version of that same thing. What Walter Benjamin said about how what the cultural apparatus is what's the founding the instrument that makes it possible. It's the same story. The thing is that Balzac, Walter Benjamin, and etc. did not elucidate. Walter Benjamin, my God, could you imagine if he wrote a book about what he knew about what I'm talking about? I wouldn't have a word to say. I'd just be going, "Oh my God, look at this." Okay? You would know he couldn't. Okay, well, excuse me, he didn't want he had right? I mean, come on now. We know what happened to him, et cetera, right? Well, guess what? You want to add some more rocks on the pile? Good Lord. What would have been unleashed on him if he told that? And he was in Europe? Mother, that would be worse than being in like South Carolina. If he started saying, yes, that collection and this, oh my God. Okay? Oh my God. And that's why it's never happened. Okay? So I have a lot of former artist friends that we don't talk anymore because of my project. Yeah. Oh yeah. So what is shocking? I don't have any problem with that because see, this is the thing. Because all which I already knew, all you're telling me is that before you told me what you told me and made me aware of what you made me aware of, I was completely happy with the world as it is and as it still is, and I intend on maintaining that world despite me knowing what you have now told me. Okay, I don't care. Okay, I've just erased it and you from my memory. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm not going to connect you with anybody else anymore. No more love. I'm not going to show your work. No problem. I don't. That's not because this is the project. And like I said, just give me an hour on television.
Yeah.
Just an hour.
We need it. That's right.
Just 1 hour. Okay.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yep. You're welcome.
Vincent, who was the president that said that about the Brown family?
The second Bush.
Second.
That's what I
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Wow.